Good morning, everybody. It's Mickey Mikeworth, and this is your 20-minute recap. So today I'm gonna instantly start sharing my screen with you, and today's conversation is around social responsibility, and it is it's one that a lot of you have worked with me on. So we're going to kind of go through the details of what is social responsibility, how can you utilize that in your business, and how can you just do the work, right? Be someone that can make a difference in the world. So adding social responsibility into a business model, it's about planning. This screen right here that you have, it is the copy of what is the class today. So if you want to screenshot that, that kind of gives you like one of the small steps that you can start to do, and what does it look like? The other thing is at the very end, I have a quick top 10 of like, here are the little bitty things that you can do to get yourself going. And in this picture, you see a block of ice behind me, and that is a giant caveman in ice. And he was a great use of that, right? So this is somebody who had it in their garage. They built it as a display for like a beer company or something like that, and they just had it in their garage. So they worked with the park board, and instead of just throwing all of that material into the environment, they're like, well, why don't we put it in the environment differently? Let's use this amazing thing. We'll hide it in the parks, let people find it. And I live in Minnesota, so this was a big deal in Minnesota. And people just started seeing this caveman in ice. And it was a chance to get people talking, getting them into the parks. And they put it in a remote area so that people had to really hike in to go see it and take their picture with it. And it was just a fun way to say, right, what is social responsibility doesn't have to be all just boring stuff. And it isn't just all save the world. Sometimes it's just these small pieces, right? These are small decisions that we make every day. And if we make enough of them, it really starts to make a huge impact. So what I've also put on the screen, which you can screenshot again, is what is the terminology, right? How do we talk about social responsibility? And really, it's an ethical framework. I think what is the easier way to explain this slide is to say, when you are doing things that build harm into society, you are socially irresponsible. So it's really, sometimes that's an easier way to go. Like, is what I'm doing harming anyone? Well, if it's not, okay, well, you might be working just fine. It might be just fine. But it is, from a corporate standpoint, it is a fulfillment of a civic duty. It is duty to be part of society and offering society something more than just selling them perhaps a pancake. So companies are really there to, that's kind of the oath that all of the Fortune 2000 have made, is that they will make a concerted effort to operate in ways that enhance rather than degrade. And so I think sometimes that's the easiest way to talk about it. We talk about social responsibility, we talk about it as responsibility. So social investment is also environmental, ethical, philanthropic, and economic responsibility. For those of you who joined us live, Karen Carson was your director. She's in your picture, so cute. And for those of you who don't normally watch my videos, my name is Mickey Mikeworth, and I think the reason that people like to hang out with me is, one, I have an amazing pedigree of things that I've done in the world, but I am kind of a wealth bringer. So I am someone who does that. And you can check out the last cover story on Pretty Women Hustle, which there's a misspelling on. Boy, I should have given you guys points for that. Terminology. So capital refers to anything that can be used for a productive purpose. So when we talk about capital, I need you to rethink your brain on this topic. So especially when we're talking about social stuff, because there's a lot more capital in your life that you have. So using it so that it can be there. So, right, the other part to that conversation, right? Here's the terminology defined, and here's the prosperity affirmation. The prosperity affirmation is that I have capital that can be used to make the world better. And you have a lot of forms of capital. And for those of you who have taken the class on the 11 forms of capital, right? Ooh, there's a lot there. So the affirmation that you want to make, you can screenshot this as well, is I have capital that can be used to make the world better. And you will also hear me say this as everybody has a gift to give. I am consistently in awe of how many ways business owners, entrepreneurial mindsets will pour into the world in unique ways. So when you are thinking about this, this is another one that I would probably just take a screenshot of, right? As a business owner, I have a resource that can make positive contribution, minimize harmful effects, be a force for good in society as your business. So when you look at every part of your business, you want to look at that. And what we have found in this process, in this movement forward, is that when you do focus on social responsibility, you end up to be an innovation station, and you end up to be more innovative and more profitable, right? Because there's a kinder, gentler, thoughtful, more loving way to do business in the world. And that's that prosperity business model. If you have a new way to do something that is more efficient and actually serves more people, social responsibility will actually make you more profitable. And it makes you happier. So here's the other terminology piece here of social responsibility. I like this terminology as well of, right, that we strive to walk hand in hand with our community. And that's where I think we have seen small business really, really come to the top of the heap. I think that large business has a lot to learn from small business, because small business really does an excellent job of creating a market space that has topics that its community can support and be in partnership. And that partnership with community makes it a positive place for everyone. So when you say shop local, it really is be local, right? It's a community, it's a hive. It offers a productivity piece that large businesses often miss. So it's one of the things that I really want to give you as your superpower is to, how can you partner with community? And I've got some ideas for you on the top 10 at the end. Your prosperity journal topic, right? 3 ways I would like to have my business participate in a solution to a bigger problem. And so sometimes I just think of a really bigger problem. I had a young woman once who, it drove her crazy that there was no recycling in her city. And this was many years ago. So she did all of the work. She did all of the work to say, let me have the truck come and just pick up all these glass bottles. And so that she could get all this glass recycled. And that one person making that choice really made it easy for many, many other people. So can she solve the problem that there is all of this glass that was eligible to be recycled and wasn't? No, but can she solve it for that amount on that day? Absolutely. So lots of people making a choice to be a solution to a bigger problem. And when I look at this from your perspective as a business owner, I would really look at that as partnerships. So the other journal topic I would give you is really looking at 3 partnerships that your business can create that can offer solutions to bigger problems. That may be just working on your recycling. That may be looking at how you manage product. It may be looking at new suppliers. So there's your extra journal topic. That plastic, of course, is the problem. That every person making a goal to phase out 90% of reusable plastic is the goal for everyone by 2030. So know that this is an environmental conversation for every major business, for every grocery store, for every municipality, that we have to be socially responsible to plastic, and plastic has to go away. So you often see, if you're doing research on this topic and you really love this topic, CSR is really the 3-letter acronym that you're going to want to do. And you're going to hear the vacuum cleaner downstairs during this 20-minute invite. There's cleaners down there, and I got a brand new puppy over here. So anything can happen in today's recap. So CSR is the business model that you're going to be looking at, and then you can look at how other big businesses do that. When I talk about it to businesses, I really remind them that their first corporate social responsibility is a code of ethics. And this is where I would screenshot that, right? That what is a code of ethics, and what does it mean? Taking responsibility. When I look at that, it is what it means is you will take responsibility for everything you do in a business. So it is not just being professional and having great communication and being trustworthy, but it's also setting standards and following them. And it can look like a lot of things. And we count that also as ethics, as saying, hey, I will manage encryption. I will safeguard my data. So there's lots of things to do that. So there's a screenshot there for you. Number 2 is fiscal responsibility. That when we look at fiscal responsibility, I would screenshot this, is really focusing in on what is fiscal responsibility, and that is the sound integrity of the corporate structure. So that means that you are going to figure out your pricing so that you can afford to do the things to run your business, that you do afford proper legal work, that you do afford accounting that works, that you do file your taxes, that you do the reporting and the banking and the processing of payments, and that you manage the equipment and the maintenance and keep your business running safely for anyone who's doing business with you. And these days, safety is around tech, because many of you are taking most of your money with technology partners. So number 3 is the environment. We hear a lot about it, and there are so many super easy ways to be able to protect the environment. So I want you to think about that, right? Maintaining and protecting an environment that's sustainable and habitable. So we're going to look at just how IKEA did that, but it's reducing that carbon footprint. And sometimes that's material sourcing, it's disposal. It's interesting. IKEA has done a lot of great work at understanding how they're doing it. It's a band-aid for a bigger problem. The bigger problem is of course, that they make disposable stuff. And so if they're going to make disposable stuff, they better use disposable stuff to make disposable stuff. And that is the big conversation for them, is every single piece in their process, they have to think about their environmental impact. And so you see them using recycled cardboard, you see them recycling cardboard, you see them with those giant blue bags. And you saw they were the first of very many globally to say, we are done with plastic bags. So that part, it's kind of interesting. When we look at you personally, you have to kind of define the value that you can bring so that you can be excited about corporate responsibility. This is a project that we did that was around breakups. So we put putting flowers on your own porch. So this is Crystal, and we were just kind of talking about this horrible breakup that she had and what did she need to do. And she's like, I need to, I think I need to see more beauty. I need to spice it up here. And I'm like, let's focus on putting flowers on your porch, right? Because she had this person was the light of her life, and it didn't end well. So we kind of built this idea of putting flowers on your own porch, right? Sometimes you have to think of something that you're really emotionally attached to, and how that emotional attachment will give you the ability to make great positive change. And so, there's lots of things you can do there. So where to get started, and how can you make everybody more profitable? right? So in that, putting flowers on the porch, we can make that something that is sad, something that's great, right? Something that's bright and cheery, and give them a discount code. Oh, well, maybe you need to put flowers on your own porch for a certain reason. And um, here's 20% off of anything that you want to buy. And in this flower store gets the business, right? And they also get all of the advertisements. So this is a win-win for everybody, and that you get beautiful flowers. So when you think about where you want to get started, 100% of the time it's gathering data. You're really going to want to gather the data of what is your processes, right? Your standard operating procedures, and where can you intervene with better choices. And the first place to do that is usually in your production line. So what you're really going to do is you're going to kind of take an accounting of what and where and how you can do better. Because you want a sustainable model in general for a business, it doesn't mean that it has to cost more. But ethical sourced goods do sometimes cost more. But when you start to look through the other costs attached to them, sometimes they really don't. So don't think that because you want ethically traded or sustainable, you're gonna, put yourself out of the pricing market. Most businesses that are producing something are going to start right in their raw materials. Where do they come from? Who is creating those raw materials? And do they have corporate structures that you think are ethically feasible? Many people do not do business with people who have certain biases. They don't want to support, just like candidates, they don't want to support certain businesses that have certain viewpoints. But sometimes they don't want to always just buy new. So sometimes just reviewing, are there recycled resources that we can use? So it's not always about a belief system. Sometimes it is just about that there is product available that we can utilize differently. The number 2 largest place, and I'm really just going to give you the 1 and the 2 in our recap, is start looking for better communication. Technology is the resource. You should be looking 100% of the time in your top 2 category of looking how technology can improve what you have. What are the steps that can be saved for your customers, for you, for reporting, for data, that you want to be able to gather data. And we live in like huge data times. So that's kind of fantastic. And by having big data available to you inside your checkout systems, right? Your operating systems, your POS systems, you really get to have more data. So it's understanding how you can use technology in a much better way, and looking at, how much does that customer spend with you? How can you make their life easier? Can you change billing? Can you make their transaction process faster? Can you give them more feedback? Can you give them an opportunity to participate in more events? So think about that, and really look at where can technology be a process partner for you so that you can cut down the other times. All right, so here are your top 10 easy things to do. First way, right? Buy stuff from your friends, shop local. You can screenshot these top 10 because I'm going to snip through them really quick because I only have 3 minutes left. Right, don't buy mass-produced junk. One of the things that I love about our friends at Miterbox, they are a framing company, is that if you work for them, this is especially great during the holidays, that if you work for them during the holidays as just a seasonal person, you also get to use all their frame scraps. So everything that they use in building, you can go over to the building section of their warehouse, and because they hand build all of those frames, that you can go over there and use the scraps. And that's a really big resource piece. So, right, how do we reuse those resources and reuse them for other people? So what they end up having in that is they have a win-win, right? They have a lot of really talented artists that love to work there because they only want to work a couple of hours. They don't want to have a job all of the time. They just need a little extra money, but they also have access to this other resource. So when you're looking at the things that you can bring from social responsibility, it is right giving somebody the ability to work part-time, giving them access to something they wouldn't have otherwise, and bringing in resources to the business that actually enhance it. You know, I can't think of a better person to sell me a frame for my art than an artist. Oh, and that's my time. So we have to go very quickly. Adopt a ground delivery for larger, for a lower carbon footprint. We do know that if you do ground, it really does make a difference than flying something over the air. So when you even are thinking about buying something in the flatlands of where you live, big deal. If you have space to share, please do it. This idea came from a law firm that they're like, wow, you know, we're done at 5 o'clock around here. So they allowed parenting groups to use their space. So, you know, there's no lawyering after 5 o'clock in that office. So they're like, do you guys want to have a parent group here? And so they were able to utilize their space differently. Boxes. Wow. Do we have a storage of boxes? For those of you who are loving to have things delivered to your door, you all have a lot of boxes. So what many places have done is given it a much easier way to have boxes reused, and you reusing yours. Aldi, the grocery store, does this, right? That they had so many boxes. Many of those stores are doing $1 million worth of produce and canned goods a day. Wow, that's a lot to unpack. So they just leave the boxes out. People can take them with them and bring their groceries in. So now it gets one more reuse. And so by just that one action of having that one box go ground, come across into their stores, unpack it, repack it for someone else, and that person take it to their environment, changes their garbage so tremendously. One of the things is invite people in your network to be part of creating social change with you. We saw the photography studio decide to help inner city schools, right? So they were like, hey, we're having a clothing drive. And I would click these because I am going very quickly. So using natural resources in your top 10 ways to give back. One of the things that you can do is use your farmers markets, and, you know, looking at that of buying local, using those resources that are grown really close to you. And one of the things is that you can also host a CSA or host a farm lunch. There's lots of interesting ways. The shopping vintage. We love vintage for a lot of things. This is my one of my assistants, Val, and but we love vintage and the reuse for store displays. We love it for packing up those Airbnbs. Event rental. We're seeing so much more vintage event rental. I love it. And office refresh, right? Is there something that you can do and not buy something brand new from the store, but is there something already out in the world that you can reuse? Volunteering, we see people use lots of different volunteer patterns. That is another way for you to help support, give back. Piloting your skills. I think this is one of my favorite ways is that you are smart and business owners are smart. So you have a lot of skills. And one of the things I always remind people about is I'm a nature lover. So think about boundary waters, right? Host a kid to be able to do exactly this picture, that it is about almost $2,000 to take them on a trip with all of their rations, all of that stuff, and give them a chance of a lifetime. Now, for a small business to be able to host one kid a year, that's really feasible. So, you know, think about the ways that you want to do that. Or you may choose to take the week off and pilot right alongside them and take those kids to do something. When you're talking about social responsibility, you want to overshare on purpose. We want more information. It changes, that's been proven, that buyers change their choices based on what they think you are doing with the resources as the business. So you want to overshare. So showcase those changes to the world. So what that also means from an interior, from a business geek, right? Remember, I'm a math geek. What that also means is that this conversation around social change, we have to have as something that's reported on. And in order for it to succeed long-term, we have to have it as a viable outcome of what we're trying to achieve, and it has to be reported on all of the time. So if you have signage, if you have a physical location, right, give that signage some space. So sometimes that's just letting somebody grab a little flyer when they check out. We see this in a lot of retail stores where they will actually promote the high school play. I love that. But there are also things that have real cultural significance that people don't always see, or it's not in their Facebook. And we're becoming more and more and more and more and more and more closed to opportunities that would have stretched us. So that's the downside of social media, is we don't actually see the AI really forms it so that we don't have any randomness into it. So this also helps you bring random in there. And I use this example for a lot of reasons. One, this is a group that we've worked with for a long time from my corporate responsibility. But it's looking at people who, how do they share information? So giving information to somebody who maybe has a very different social group than you, it allows them to start sharing within those little microcosms of culture. And so they will also trust those relationships. So it's important for you to build relationships that don't look like or talk like or walk like or read like or laugh like you. So bring them into the conversation, invite them to invite others. So it's another way to do that. And using your creative talent, right? Product placement is a huge deal. So this happens to be the deck that goes with our classes. So, right, use the creative ideas that you have around. Your everyday actions are the actions for change. That was the fastest recap we could have done on such a big topic. Now, I always have things that if you are on the email, there was a great article that you can read. We have this overachiever moment that you can think about. If you did journal article 1, if you did the journal article 2, there are so many of you that love to overachieve, and this is that overachiever moment. Which is, right, just make a little list of 10 things that you can do, that you can do economically for the world that don't take much time or effort. So recycling is one of those, but just making different decisions. This is a really great article around fashion. For those of you who have been following me on the Closet 80, this is really some of that co-creation that we're looking to build, is people who are willing to develop sustainable fashion products, who are doing sustainable collections. We have, fashion is a huge polluter. So 60% of the clothing right now that is manufactured in the world is made with polyester, and it is not biodegradable. So we have all of this clothing that is being created that is landfill. And so they're creating it in cheap things that don't last from person to person. So if any of you are following Closet 80, that's one of the things that we have coming up over the next 2 years. So that's a fun project. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the share. I will see you. That's your recap. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And until next time. Bye.